So let's go through the only if. Now, the if statements are relatively straightforward. We use the material conditional, and we might symbolize something like S entails U or S arrow U. Of course, we can say something like P arrow Q or R arrow T. These letters here, they're just stand-ins for sentences. Now, if S is Susan will go to the cinema and U is I will go to the cinema, well, I hope you can see that this is saying if Susan goes to the cinema, I will go to the cinema. Okay, that's an if-then statement. But what about the following sort of sentence, an only if sentence? I will go to the cinema only if Susan will also go to the cinema. Now think about that. I will go to the cinema only if Susan will go to the cinema. Well, we can sort of think about it logically, in terms of logical worlds. If this sentence were true, is there going to be a case where I go to the cinema and Susan does not go? You're saying that you go to the cinema only if Susan goes to the cinema, right? So the answer to this question, it should be no. Whenever you're at the cinema, Susan must be there. Okay. What about this? Is there going to be a case where Susan goes to the cinema and I do not go? Now think about this very carefully. If this sentence were true, would there be a case where Susan goes to the cinema and I do not go? Well, actually, the sentence doesn't say anything about this. In fact, it's very possible that there is a case where Susan goes and I do not go. Right? This sentence does not entail anything about what happens if Susan goes and whether you go or not. Okay. So let's take a look at this symbolized. The meaning of this sentence, I will go to the cinema only if Susan does not go, is something like this. There's not going to be a situation in which I go to the cinema and Susan is not there, or Susan is not going. Alternatively, if you like, you might think of it like this. As soon as I will go to the cinema is established, then we can also conclude that Susan will go to the cinema is also true. So as soon as you have I will go to the cinema, then you can say Susan will go to the cinema, right? A third way of saying this is Susan going to the cinema is a necessary condition for your going, right? This is sort of similar to the fire example. If Susan going to the cinema is a necessary condition for your going, then as soon as you go to the cinema, you know that Susan will also be going. Okay, so given these meanings, how should we symbolize? We know we have to use the material conditional. Now the question is, where does the U and S fit in? Have a think. As soon as I will go to the cinema is true, we know Susan is also going, so it should be U-S. Which is the converse of the previous if-then statement that we considered. Okay, good. Does anyone have any questions about this? Okay. Let's take a look at the truth table then. Again, this is pretty straightforward. We're going to consider the truth table for U only if S, which is symbolized by this. Okay, on the left, we have the atomics. And here's what we're saying by the truth table. The only way in which U entails S becomes false is if you're going, but Susan isn't going. Remember, you said that you would go only if Susan goes. But here you have a case where you're going, but Susan's not going. Okay. Now, this is the converse. S entails U. This says if Susan goes, you go. Now, I want to emphasize that this statement does not entail this statement. Right? Just because this is true doesn't mean that this is true. However, they are not inconsistent. That is, they might be both true at the same time, right? It might be possible that you will go to the cinema only if Susan goes, but it might also be possible at the same time that as soon as Susan goes, you also go. You know, maybe you're a stalker or something, right? So, you wait in the bushes and see when she drives to the cinema, and as soon as she goes to the cinema, you follow her and you go to the cinema, right? So these two can be true at the same time. They're not inconsistent, but one doesn't entail the other. It really depends on what you mean by the U and the S and what the actual word is like at that time. Another way of demonstrating that they're not inconsistent is, look, these rows each demonstrate a logically possible world, right? If we look at the last row, we can see that there is indeed a situation where both of these are true, right? And actually, this can be true. Okay, any questions? Let's do one more example, okay? Let's say, if it is raining only if it is cloudy. Let's say R is raining and Q is cloudy. If I say if it is raining only if it's cloudy, how should we symbolize this? Can you type it out in the chat? Good. As soon as it's raining, you know it's cloudy. But I hope you can see that this doesn't entail Q, entails R. Sorry, again, it's quite laggy. I'll have to sort that out at some point. So again, I hope you can see that R entails Q doesn't entail Q entails R. Of course, just because it's cloudy doesn't mean it's raining, right? We can have a cloudy day without raining.